On a scale of 1 to 10 by anger, I'm a 20. I'm still trying to soak everything in and just be like, wow. Did all this just happen today? Did this really happen to me?
I love you, though.
That basically describes tonight's episode. This is the last Daring Do episode, and somehow I expected it to suck, and it gave me exactly what I thought was gonna happen. Burn this fucking bridge already. This is Daring Doubt, the last Daring Do episode. Let's get this shitstorm over with. So this episode begins with Fluttershy flying to Rainbow Dash's house, reading a new Daring Do book, except it isn't. We also find out here that because of Rainbow Dash, we see now that Fluttershy is a massive fan of Daring Do.
Yearling always sends me a copy. Well, I'm happy to let you borrow mine until yours arrives. The true story of the thieving fraud known as Daring Do? What? Why would A.K. Yearling write that about herself? Oh, it looks like she didn't. This book says it's by Groom Q.Q. Martingale. Who? I guess he's a new writer. A bad one? The only thing worse than Daring Do's destruction of temples is her cruelty to the mild-mannered Dr. Caballeron? It was written from his point of view. I figured it was an artistic choice.
And we have our first problem with the episode. Fluttershy. Now, I have been a massive defender of Fluttershy in various episodes. One episode that I actually forgot about, but kind of raises a point of her character growth, is the Season 4 episode, It Ain't Easy Being Breezy, where that episode, her element of kindness was put to the test, and it proves what would happen when her kindness is being taken advantage of. Fluttershy in this episode, while has shown a lot of character growth, is not gullible to believe different sides of a story, as basically we're led to believe based on that bit of sentence in the book that essentially the book is written by Caballeron and it's nothing more than a smear campaign.
More like a disaster. Listen, Daring Do isn't just a fictional character from over-the-top adventure stories. I've met her, and she is a real live pony. That's supposed to be a secret. We are the only ones who know Daring Do is really A.K. Yearling in disguise. But if other ponies read this book, how long will it take them to figure that out? We have to go warn her. Fluttershy! Oh, sorry.
Trust me, it's going to get a lot worse, because Fluttershy, being an absolute gullible moron, is not the only problem with the episode.
A.K. Yearling is signing all her books at the bookstore today. We can warn her about what's going on.
So they try to go and warn her as Fluttershy continues to basically try to look at the positive side of things and not realize something is amiss.
Don't you think you should read Martingale's book first, just to hear both sides of the story?
Read both sides of the story. Do you not realize that this is written by an obvious bad guy?
Why? The only true thing in that pack of lies is that Daring Do is real. There's also a lot of insight into Dr. Caballeron's life choices.
Oh, really?
Oh my god, should I start listing things?
Yeah, Eliza, I agree. I should start listing things. Caballeron's life choices is the greedy scumbag guy who basically made up lies about Daring Do, made it obvious where pretty much every single innocent bystander was a moron, and you're saying that Caballeron's life choices made him out to be this great guy, even though it was clear he has tried to steal the artifact multiple times, and you've seen him in Daring Do where he almost tried to cause the end of the world. Let's continue.
Did you know he's actually a history professor and amateur food watcher? Are you serious right now?
I think that's pretty much everyone wondering about Fluttershy's writing in this episode.
A random writer trashes our friend and exposes her secrets, and you want to talk about art?
or trying to believe one side of the story. So we then go to the book signing where essentially the rabid fans basically don't want to rag on Daring Do, since pretty much her identity is now out in the open.
Daring Do is real. This changes everything.
And why do you only write about her good side? Is she bribing you?
On page 531, it says Daring Do kicks puppy.
She does? What? No. Look, are any of you here for my actual book signing? No.
Frankly, I don't even know how you could call it fiction if it's all real. You're as much of a fake as Daring Do.
You say that as if he is Daring Do, and it kind of makes me wonder why nobody is more outraged at these fans, but considering the fact that now that I'm thinking back to Fame and Misfortunate, how basically that episode let kind of slip by the main six to say know who Daring Do is because of the ponies that were harassing Rainbow Dash about the time that they got to meet Daring Do. Basically, her friends kind of let that cat out of the bag. So basically, the criticism by these fans right here makes absolutely no sense. Trust me, there's a tons and tons of contradictions and retcons in this episode that are going to go around. So anyways, Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy, after dealing with a band of idiots, goes to talk to Daring Do and wondering what exactly is going on here.
I would learn Daring Do was real. But why? Aren't you proud of your adventures? Of course, but I'm not in it for the fame. Stories just seem too good to keep to myself. I wish I knew who this Martingale author was, and why he's determined to ruin my character. And me! Maybe we can ask him.
Convenient!
No way! He's doing a signing across the street? You'd better go without me. I can't risk the chance Martingale might recognize me as Daring Do. Sorry.
So they go inside where, here's a big surprise, Shockable starts, the George R.R. Martin pony is actually Dr. Caballeron! So Rainbow Dash is the first one to quickly call out on his bullshit, but Fluttershy continues to be a moron and not suspect two and two together.
Huh? Just like in Somnambula, spreading lies to make Daring Do look bad. We can sign a book.
I'm just a simple author, telling it like it is. Who should I make it out to?
Fluttershy with two T's.
Earth the toddler bitch! You better speak now before I forever put that pacifier cartridges down your throat!
Is what I would say to him in this scenario. So all the fans basically go away as basically Caballeron basically tells him to get the book for free, so he's not even getting money out of it for saying this, and Rainbow Dash is not going to let this slide.
We aren't going to let you get away with this, Caballeron.
Get away with what? Really telling my side of the story.
You mean lying?
You think everything in A.K. Yearling's books are true? Daring Do indicates on script. She states that the fang-thorn flowers are red. In fact, they are blue.
And what's stopping me from breaking your hoof and snapping your neck right here and now?
True, they are. That sounds like more of an editor's mistake.
Still, if that is wrong, is it not possible that other bigger things are too? Take a look, it's in my book.
But I don't have to take your word for it. Come on, Fluttershy!
So Fluttershy, for some ungodly reason, decides to stay behind and hear out Dr. Caballeron. Yes, hear out the obvious bad guy who is nothing more than a money-hungry scumbag who has tried to kill her friend that she has known for years, time and time again.
Something wrong?
It is terrible being misunderstood. It is true, in the past I have not been as nice to Daring Do as I should, but I have my reasons.
Want to talk about what happened?
Fluttershy, how do you not recognize the bad guy who you met in Daring Do that almost tried to murder your friend? You know he is an obvious bad guy. So then we get his quote-unquote backstory, which we know by this point is all of an act, And even if we should try to sympathize with him, why should we care? Caballeron is not an interesting villain. We know he's a money-hungry bad guy, so why should we care?
My team and I were only ever interested in researching artifacts and taking them to our museum where other ponies would study them. But Daring Do always seemed to get there first with her own plans. We offered to team up with her, but she refused. She had her own ideas of...
Oh, and if continuity is not getting punched in the nuts hard enough, this episode basically rolls back to what happened in Daring Do, the same episode that I referenced, where they pretty much broke into Daring Do's house and tried to hold her hostage. The same episode where they kidnapped Rainbow Dash, and Fluttershy doesn't seem to care.
Where the treasures belong.
Daring Do did have a lot of artifacts on her shelves at home.
Hey, Fluttershy. Hey, wake up, sweetie. You realize you're talking to the obvious bad guy who almost tried to have your friend murdered twice, and you met him before, and you know he's an obvious bad guy.
We went through this. Are you stupid or what?
Didn't you try to sell them to the highest bidder?
Only because I had to. Since Daring Do kept taking our artifacts, but the museum closed. We were desperate for money to keep it open.
She does destroy a lot of ancient sites.
Are we really going to go through the stupid bullshit again from Daring Do? Are we seriously going to do this crap again? Fluttershy, I don't understand how you are this gullible where you're obviously being taken advantage of. How can you not connect the dots together when you've met this guy before and you know he's obviously a liar?
Not to mention the homes of the animals that live there.
And I felt it was my duty to tell the world. Thank you for listening and understanding, Miss...
Fluttershy, Judy.
And I am Dr. Cavalier. Martingale is merely a nom de plume to build my brand.
Stab your chest, break your neck, smash your head. I will allow you to choose your own death, is what I would say to this guy right then and there, but obviously Fluttershy must have been taking her stupid pills today. And I cannot believe I'm saying this about Fluttershy, but considering that we are on the last season, and the episode that I just talked about before, It Ain't Easy Being Breezy, was testing her of what happens when her kindness is being taken advantage of, but this episode acts like that episode never happened, and Fluttershy is completely gullible in buying into the bullshit he is spewing.
You know, my team could use an insightful Pegasus like you.
So Caballeron basically offers Fluttershy to be a part of Dr. Caballeron's expedition team, and she accepts.
Really telling the truth. So I joined Dr. C's Tenochtitlan expedition.
Okay, hearing you talk like that just pisses me off even more.
I have a lot of things to say, but as soon as basically he's walking away all smug like, I'm about ready to rip this motherfucker in half. As such.
Why you? Runway shown against the path! Away! Down, dinosaur! What?
It's literally what I would do to Caballeron. So anyways, after the commercial break, Rainbow Dash flies to Daring Do to let her know what happened, and basically give her the Cliff Notes version, and they have to go after her.
Let's right now! He must be after the truth talisman of Tonatiuh.
Oh, and we're gonna get to that piece of shit soon enough.
Requires the wings of a Pegasus to retrieve it. That's gotta be why Caballeron tricked Fluttershy into joining his gang. It's up to us to stop him.
anyways, we cut to the jungle where basically Fluttershy foolishly go along the Caballeron's exposition and not realize for 1 second the dude is lying off his ass and essentially is being used and doesn't even bat an eye.
Yes, unlike Daddy do. Smash prance aside with a cruel majesty.
Thank you.
Fool! Don't you know that's poison? I don't want you to get hurt, my friend.
You realize that she doesn't put 2 and 2 together and realize something is not right with this guy. And this is like that through almost the entire episode.
Oh, I can help with that. Here.
You are willing to share?
Of course. That's part of the fun of having an adventure with friends.
What the fuck? So anyways, after more stupid contrived bullshit where she ends up aiming the cat to try to chase their group, Fluttershy still believes that they are the good ponies. Let's keep going. So we see that Rainbow Dash and Daring Do desperately try to catch up with them and wondering why Caballeron decided to trick Fluttershy in this instance.
Why? What's so special about it? It has the power to make the ponies holding it tell the truth. But Caballeron only wants it because it's made of solid gold. He'll melt it down and use it to get rich. So if this talisman is so important, why didn't you already save it? You said only a Pegasus can get it, right? Yes, but the temple traps are far too dangerous to face without a map, and maybe even with one.
So they reach to the temple as basically Fluttershy continues to basically give friendly advice to the goon ponies, and I literally do not care if they have names, because quite frankly, she shouldn't even be helping these guys in the first place.
There they are. We can catch
So we see Daring Do and Rainbow Dash get tied up with Awizolo. Trust me, we're going to get to him soon, and they manage to get inside the temple.
That was cutting it close. And without a map, we'll have to guess which way to go.
So basically, Caballeron's group basically finds basically the Truth Teller amulet and puts on acting that's so phony that even Tommy Wiseau wouldn't buy it, and yet somehow Fluttershy believes him.
Our journey has been for nothing.
Don't be upset. I can get it.
Oh, Fluttershy, you are too kind. But I could never ask that of you. It might be dangerous.
I want to do it for all of you, my new friends.
Whatever, let's keep going. So she gets the amulet, and yes, even though Caballeron does save her from falling in the lava, you know at this point he's basically acting, so why should we care? Why should we care if he's going to continue this stupid bullshit trend?
Give us the talisman, Caballeron.
And then we get what we obviously knew from a mile away.
You don't understand. My friends are researchers. They only want to study the talisman and keep it safe in a museum. Right, Dr. C?
No.
But you said now that he's holding Tonatiuh's talisman, he has to tell the truth. Admit it, Caballeron. You're only pretending to like Fluttershy because she has the wings you needed to steal the truth talisman. Isn't that right?
No, I admit that was the original reason, but my hench ponies and I have come to value your friendship and kindness.
And yet, you still managed to manipulate Fluttershy into doing this crap for you, and basically fooled her, and she didn't even realize it. And by the way, Fluttershy, to basically you now just realizing that you basically got used, just like how the Breezies used you, and you're just realizing it now.
No shit.
Yeah, no kidding. So Awizolo then shows up up again and summons the light gargoyle things. Honestly, as much as I want to find this action scene creative, at this point, I really could give a shit at this point because of how incompetent the writing is, even to the point where Cavalieron and Daring Do are forced to work with each other, and considering that he's wearing the talisman, Fluttershy still doesn't get it that she was basically used by an obvious bad guy that makes Closey Glow a more obvious and more interesting bad guy. And we're gonna get to that shortly.
Told you he'd listen. A truce until we escape? How can we trust you?
I cannot lie. Now, all together!
So they basically get out of the cave and have to run away from Aoizolo as they have to pass off the amulet to one another. And we get this stupid crap as Aoizolo is banging on the walls about to crush them.
Aoizolo won't give up until he catches us. I think our problem is the solution. Did you forget there's a monster out there that wants to crush us? But why? Nobody ever asked Aoizolo what his side of the story is.
Why? What the fuck do we even care about what Aoizolo wants? We know that he is a bad guy. And I'm going to about to retract that statement in quotes. Now, this is the thing. I understand the moral of the episode is essentially that, yes, you have to hear two sides of a story and not just automatically believe one side. But this is kind of like taking the consideration in the news, and if the writing is this incompetent, and we know for a fact that both Cavalieron and Aoizolo are both established villains, why the hell should we care? This is exactly like basically saying you trust TMZ more than CNN. And I don't care if that analogy makes no sense. Fluttershy should not basically believe that Aoizolo is basically another side, that he is not a bad guy. But let's get to the absolute stupid point, as Rainbow Dash first points out the obvious of all the points that I basically addressed.
He's a or maybe he's just a bad guy. Do I need to remind you he tried to squash Daring Do like 100 times?
So now, let's get to the point where this episode... Play it.
Ask, why are you chasing us, Mr. Aoizolo?
Well, the thing is, I'm in charge of protecting this jungle. If another artifact goes missing on my watch, I'm going to be in so much trouble with the other guardian creatures.
Say that again.
Why are you chasing us, Mr. Aoizolo?
Well, the thing is, I'm in charge of protecting this jungle. If another artifact goes missing on my watch, I'm going to be in so much trouble with the other guardian creatures.
Of all the stupid, asinine, start-jumping bullshit!
Yeah. So, Aoizolo was not a bad guy the whole time. Except for the fact that, read and weep, he wanted to steal the sapphire statue and use it. Oh, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he basically tried to use the Rings of Doom in Daring Do to essentially try to unilaterally take over the world and basically put the jungle in unsweltering heat. There was no indication in any past episode where we were led to believe that Aoizolo was not this bad guy. And basically, writing in this episode is a major factor, and it literally feels like every single character is either a moron or is retconned beyond belief, and we're supposed to believe that both Cavalieron and Aoizolo were not truly bad guys, even though every single past episode that they appeared in said otherwise. Alright.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of responsibility.
It is! And those two have taken so many relics from my land. My job is on the line.
So with this line of dialogue, basically the one thing that I ignored about the writing, and essentially that describes Fluttershy's characterization in this episode, given how Daring Do is supposed to be an homage to Indiana Jones, this entire statement from Ali Dole is basically saying that this is like if Indy was the bad guy and the Nazis were the good guys. I'm sorry, what? What is absolute total bullshit?
So, maybe I am a little violent and ferocious. Can you blame me?
No! I don't believe it!
The only reason I've been taking the artifacts is because I thought I was protecting them.
And basically proving that Daring Do was right all along!
I was stealing them to get rich. But I never realized you had a noble cause. I thought you were just being a monster.
I get that a lot.
Maybe there is something to this whole listening to every pony thing.
No! No, it didn't, Rainbow Dash, because this is basically Cavalieron and Ali Dole being reformed. Guys! I understand this is the last season, but not every bad guy has to be reformed. And if you're gonna do it accurately. This is basically Garble's reinforcement from Sweet and Smoky, and yet somehow 10 times shittier. Look, if you want to do a reformed villain right, Sunset Shimmer was a prime example of how to do it, and yet somehow this episode still fucks it up, and we're supposed to believe now that these two villains are basically good guys, and Daring Do was the bad guy this whole time.
I will fucking murder everyone!
So, Daring Do and Dr. Cavalieron decide to give up adventuring and decide to be co-writers.
What's going on? I thought your first co-written novel would bring out a ton of fans.
We've been upstaged by a new author.
And so the noble householder bravely toiled day and night to protect the jungle's precious artifacts.
So, that was Daring Doubt.
What the hell is that?
Why do people give this episode a pass? Yeah, this episode was garbage. The main contributor of how awful this episode was the writing. Fluttershy basically is absolutely gullible in this episode and is basically perceived to be incompetent. This episode basically gives tons and tons of retcons, basically trying to make us believe that Cavalieron and Ali Dole were these misunderstood bad guys when previous episodes didn't lead us to believe otherwise. This episode was absolutely awful to get through in terms of a writing standpoint because of how literally incompetent everybody outside of Rainbow Dash is. And like I said, this episode's basically supposed to portray that basically those two villains were the good guys and Daring Do was the bad guy, pretty much an indication to believe that if Indy was the bad guy and the Nazis were the good guys. And yes, I understand that the moral is that, yes, you should listen to different sides of the story in order to find the truth. But when you have met obvious bad guys in the past, and yet continuity is somehow both ignored and yet kept together at the same time, the writing is all over the map, the action scenes are not all that interesting, because you basically want to scream to the characters, what the hell were you thinking? These ideas and executions are absolute shit. This is literally a dreadful, awful episode. Now, in spite of my anger, and I still think this episode is awful, I still think that 246 Great is still the worst episode of the season, as well as the worst episode of the entire show, because, number one, this episode suffers a lot of the same problems as Marks for Efforts, where this episode outrages me, but it outrages me on a story standpoint, point. And at the very least, I will give this episode credit. It didn't personally attack me. And two, it feels like that ever since Daring Joan, the Daring Do episodes got progressively worse and worse. I know a lot of people like Stranger Than fan fiction, but I don't. Daring Joan was an absolute dumpster fire of an episode, and this episode didn't recover. This literally feels like that the introduction of Daring Do basically went up, and it went up with Daring Joan, and since Stranger Than fan fiction, the Daring Do episodes just got worse and worse, until we finally hit the bottom of the barrel, where basically everything that we knew about Daring Do since Read and Weep in Season 2 got shit on. Now, with all that being said, like I said, in spite of how angry I am at this episode, I'm not considering this the worst episode of Season 9, or even the worst episode of the entire show, was because since it was a Daring Do episode, I was expecting it to suck. So the final ranking for Daring Doubt is an F. An absolute dreadful way to end the Daring Do story, and the poor handling of both Aoi Zolo and Dr. Caballeron's reformment, where, reality check guys, not every bad guy has to be reformed. Alright, so with that, finally got this off my table. Daring Doubt, an F. Second worst episode of the season. I had to get that out. And I am so glad that I am never going to watch this episode again, because all I can think is pain. Alright, next time we are looking at Growing Up is Hard to Do. Amen to that. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.